Hey, what's up everybody? This is Mike. Welcome back to another video. Very good to see you. I hope you're doing well and I hope you enjoyed this little intro that I put together for today's video. The topic of today's video is 7 tips for making your drone footage more cinematic. And I know the term cinematic is being overused quite a lot, but what I mean by that is how to turn your average, regular looking drone footage into something more appealing, better looking, and something that you will enjoy sharing with your friends and family and everyone else a lot more. I have to admit today's video is geared towards the beginners out there. I know there are plenty of you guys who are still new to flying drones and are looking for ways to improve your footage, so this video is for you. Tip number 1 is something that I believe everyone should do, and that is to fly in manual mode. Flying in manual mode basically means that you're not allowing the drone to decide for itself what settings to use for your ISO, your shutter speed, your aperture, your white balance, and I believe these settings could make or break your footage. So as long as you understand how to control them, how to use them properly, your footage immediately becomes a lot better. With that being said, it's also very important to not shoot in normal color profile. Always shoot in the flattest color profile available for your drone. So if you have a Cinelike D or D-Log M option for your drone, always pick that. That gives you a lot more freedom to color grade your footage afterwards and make it a lot better looking than just what you will get if you fly and shoot in normal mode. My tip number 2 is to use ND filters, and I cannot stress this enough. You need ND filters for pretty much any device that has a lens on it. That changes the look of your footage so much, and it improves the motion blur that you're getting out of your footage so much. To demonstrate what difference it makes to use an ND filter or to not use an ND filter, I'm going to demonstrate with this footage of my drone, and especially how the propellers look in the footage. The first part you're going to see is shot without an ND filter with extremely high shutter speed to compensate for the amount of light that is coming through the lens. So the motion looks very unnatural, and I personally don't like this look. So as soon as you use an ND filter, here I'm using this variable ND filter from Polar Pro for my camera. As soon as you start using it, you definitely start seeing that everything looks a lot more natural, a lot more appealing to the human eye, and something that you are a lot more used to seeing because it resembles what you see in your daily life. So using ND filters could really improve the look of your footage, and it gives that cinematic look. I know this term is being really overused, but it's true, and the ND filters, depending on their strength, could really make your footage pop and also allow you to use the right shutter speed, which is always double your frame rate. So if you're shooting in 24 frames per second, your shutter speed, the right one, should be 1/50th of a second. If you're shooting in 30 frames per second, the right shutter speed should be 1/60th of a second, etc. It works for all of the frame rates the same way. My tip number 3 is to keep your shots as smooth as possible, and a way to do that is by using tripod mode or cinematic mode. Personally, I try to always shoot in cinematic mode simply because it slows down the reaction time of the sticks, and in case you do a movement of the sticks that is a bit too quick, it still compensates for that, and it allows you to keep your footage. It doesn't ruin your footage automatically, something that is going to happen if you don't shoot in any of these modes. So I highly recommend you to check out tripod mode or cinematic mode if you have them on your drone. My tip number 4 for getting that cinematic look is to shoot in 24 frames per second. I know there are plenty of debates out there which frame rate is the right one, especially for drone shots. I've been experimenting with 24, 30, even 60, and personally I don't like the look of 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. I think for the most cinematic look, the most natural look, you need to select 24. And something that I started doing recently is I shoot in 30 frames per second, and then when I start editing my footage, I just slow it down to 80%, which results in a 24 frames per second footage. So that eliminates the possibility of having jittery footage, especially if you combine that with using an ND filter, using the right manual settings, everything is exposed properly, your white balance is the correct one, everything comes together and you end up with a footage that looks just amazing, very smooth, very beautiful, and just that's the best way possible, I think. Tip number 5 is something that I believe many people overlook, and that is to think about the story before you start shooting. If you spend 5 or 10 minutes on the ground before you take off with your drone and just think about what you want to shoot, how you want to shoot it, from what angle, this will help you so much to end up with a nice looking footage instead of footage that just simply shows you going from one point to another, looking for something interesting, taking a look on the right, on the left, taking a look up and down. You also lose a lot of battery life by doing this. So instead of doing that, just spend a little time on the ground, think about what you want to capture, how you want to capture it, from what angle, is there a particularly interesting object somewhere around you that you want to capture. And another thing, try to not show the same thing from 20 different angles. Try to mix things up, try to include other objects, other things from the ground in your footage, instead of focusing on just one thing and showing it over and over again until the viewer is just sick of seeing it, and it's a little bit boring as well. So try to make your footage interesting by showing lots of different things that are happening. Try to focus on some action if you can, on something that is going on the ground, and that will make your footage a lot more interesting. My tip number 6 is to always pick the right music for your edit. If you are doing things right, I think you should always have a rough idea what you want to capture, how you want to capture it, and what mood you're going for. So me personally, I've shot a couple of videos for which I had the idea to make them very epic, very emotional, and to provoke a certain emotion in the viewer when watching that video. I've had other videos that I wanted to make them a little bit more aggressive, faster looking, and for those, of course, a different type of music is going to be more suitable. So always think about the emotion that you're trying to provoke with your footage and what music goes well with that emotion and with that footage as well. And a little tip that I always recommend is to edit to the beat of the music. All of my videos basically are edited to the beat of the music that I'm using, and I think this allows for a more flowing video, for something that just looks more natural, sounds more natural, and you kind of expect it, but in a good way. I personally feel that's the best way of editing, and that's a little recommendation that you might want to check out. And my last tip for today's video is to consume lots and lots of cinematic content. You have no idea how important that is. Next time when you are watching your favorite TV show or a movie or even a commercial or even a YouTube video, try to pay attention to how other people are creating their content, how they are framing it, how they are filming, from which angle, how they're moving the camera and stuff like that. I think this will teach you a lot, and it's something that I started doing recently. I just pay attention a lot more to the creative aspect of making that content, especially when you try to replicate the things that you like. You will learn a lot, and then you will be able to create your own style. I think creating your own style only comes after you're already past a certain level of knowledge. You can't create your own style if you don't know anything about how to create content. So learn from the people that you look up to, learn from the people that you enjoy watching, and then create your own style and build it from there. And with that being said, guys, this is everything that I have for you for today's video. I hope you enjoyed these 7 tips on making your drone footage more cinematic. If you did, please smash that like button and subscribe if you don't want to miss any of my future content. I have lots more videos coming very soon. This is Mike from Drone Supremacy. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Ciao.